Alright, so this is going to be a full demonstration of the Wicked Tenure demo. We're going to go over all the mechanics and stuff that we implemented over the past month, general thoughts on the project, how things went. We're going to do a short play test and demonstrate all of the things in the game. First, we will start with the main menu. I'm just going to check OBS to see if that's visible. Okay, cool. So the main menu is now fully implemented. The player is able to quit and start whenever they want. I'm not going to hit quit right now because obviously I want to get into showing off the game. So we're going to go ahead and start. Player loads in, it's a fade in. Pretty much is just a scene manager. It loads the main scene. And as soon as we load in, we can see that there's a working UI hotbar. Some of these images have been updated for visibility in the dark, you know, when the player is moving around like this, for example. So, in addition to that, all of this has been scaled based on resolution. Should work pretty much the same on any machine. Mac and Linux support should be coming soon. We also have UI pop-ups for all the items in case you try to interact with them. For example, there, like it requires the match, so we'll just pick that up. Instantiation of the items during runtime, that's all working. Managing the inventory, the hotbar slots and everything, that's all fully implemented now. If you listen here, we also have the sound system working. In the background there is a music player, and it's pretty much just choosing a random track to play through, fading it in and out. As you can see when we picked up the flashlight, there's also the extra UI indicator for the battery life. I recently made it so that the battery recharges when the player is not actively using it. So that way, if in the event that the player runs out of battery entirely, then they still have like a chance to recharge it after a short period of time. You can also hear the footsteps. If I start moving around here, I'll be quiet for a second. That all works in tandem with the heat system, which we'll talk about in a second here. I'm going to go ahead and grab the progression items here. So let's talk about the heat system and the professor's AI for a second. So the professor, the enemy in this game, pretty much works on one main mechanic, and that is the heat system. He's not visible to the player unless he's in some form of light, i.e. the shadow is being cast from him. So it's pretty essential that the player is able to interact with him in a meaningful way, both with sound and light. The audio and visual cues are incredibly important for the player because otherwise it's not like they can really see or do anything about it. So, with the heat system in mind, anytime the player generates a noise, a heat source is generated. And these heat sources have a duration, they have a lifetime, they have a radius, and a couple other factors such as the audio clip that they play. And based on these factors, they will be added to or not, depending on them, to the professor's heat queue. The queue prioritizes certain priority levels of heat. For example, crouching around makes next to no noise, so it's a lower priority. Walking makes a bit more, so it's one above, and similarly sprinting is higher than that. There's also things like the ball, which can generate some heat. As you can hear those sounds, each and every single one of those the professor would be able to pick up on. And based on the priority level, say the player's crouching around and they throw that ball, then that's going to have a higher priority level than the player stealthily moving away from the ball, for example. But if they start sprinting, or they throw it and then they're immediately sprinting, the professor's probably not going to care too much about it because sprinting has a higher priority. The professor will navigate towards these heat sources whenever given the opportunity. He'll do so until the heat queue is cleared, or the professor ends up finding the player. So either way, he's going to be tracking something down, be it the player or a heat source. Alternatively, if the professor has no heat sources to track and the player's not in sight, then he'll enter into a patrol mode. And in this mode, he sort of meanders about the map in the general location of the player. Now, when we open this door, it's going to generate a bit of heat because it makes a lot of noise, and the professor's going to start coming for us. But we're going to watch as he finds that heat source, but we're already out of sight, so he's going to go back into patrol mode. So we're going to begin our little play test here, and we're going to see that in action. Actually, real quick, I'll talk about the pathfinding. I recently made some updates to the pathfinding and fixed the map up for the other, talking mainly to the other devs on the team watching this. It checks for all the edge cases, and pretty much all the progression system works with the scene. And yeah, all right, let's go. So that makes a bunch of noise. The professor's going to start coming our way. Soon enough, we'll be able to hear him. Here he comes. Oh, never mind. Now he should be coming. I didn't walk over the spawn trigger there. So he'll probably be coming down from that right hallway if I had to guess. Oh, nope, there he is. Yep, so when you start hearing the footsteps, that means he's locked onto a heat source and he's going to start pathing towards it. So we're going to go behind this wall and start crouching around to make as little noise as possible. Once he exhausts that heat cue, as you can see, he's going to pause there, and then he's going to decide on a new target. He ran out of heat, so he's just going to patrol now. We're going to grab this, and I think we're going to throw it over this way and try to distract him. We're going to wait for him to go over there, and then we'll move into the next room. Now we've bought ourselves some time, so I'm going to start sprinting, because I don't like going slow so much, but we'll grab a couple of other useful items and be on our way. I'm going to try to conserve the battery life as much as possible. I already have plenty, but still worth a while. We're going to pick up this key. I'm going to make sure I'm not walking straight into the professor here. Looks like he's right there. We're going to run this way, and we're going to cut some corners, go around the back, and reach the cafe from here. Another distraction item just to keep him occupied. Select the correct key. I'm going to light some of these just to give a little extra light in the area. I'm going to quickly grab some items out of here. The professor found us, so we've got to run. We need to lose sight of him and get out of a certain range before he'll return to track mode. But he's still going to be on us, so we're going to have to run a little bit more, and then maybe we'll throw a distraction item over there to take his attention, and we'll do it all again. We're going to head over to one of the lockers in one of the other rooms here. We again bought ourselves some time. I already know where these items are, of course, but the player will not. We get the crowbar there. I'm going to run this way because I know it's pretty close. Let's hope that was enough. I feel like it probably wasn't. Oh, it looks like we just barely got out of range. We're not making enough noise for him. He is coming our way, though. We're going to see if we can grab this. Hopefully he doesn't catch us. If he does, then we'll get to see the end state. Oh, don't come over here. Always coming over here. Choose a different path, please. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna have to sprint on out of here, I think. Nice, we just barely evaded in there. It's one of the more difficult sections of the area to navigate through. We now have the green key, so we're gonna head on back. I would have liked to have grabbed that. Just gotta get barely out of range here. See if we can stealthily outmaneuver him here. Yep. The professor is blind for the most part. Once he finds the player and locks on them, it's a different story, but generally you can pretend that he's blind. He's got very short range of sight. I'm gonna keep throwing these down here, see if I can get him out of my way. Oh, I've just hit him there. Probably wasn't a fan of that. That's not good. That's okay. We'll get to see the end screen now. As you can see, the end screen pops up. We have the option to play again, or we can go back to the main menu. So we're gonna go ahead and do that, and then I'm gonna go into the editor and show off the end of the game because I'm not gonna replay that right now. All right. Let's see here. Let's bring our player. Let's put him in the fuse box room way over here. And let's just drop a fuse down on the ground here. And maybe a flashlight as well would be nice. See if I can find it on the ground. There we go. Grab this, then we'll plug in the fuse. And now supposing that I were still in the game and I hadn't failed, then that would have disabled the professor. He would have done his little death sequence. And then at that point, the player's free to leave the map. They'll run through here, it'll begin fading out, and then the player will get to see the victory screen. Right now there's nothing else to it, but yeah, that's going to be the end of the playtest there. Obviously the player can play again or they can start again if they would like to, but we are just going to stop the scene there. So yeah, everything seems to be in, as far as I can tell, perfect working order. Everything's working as intended. Now I'll share my thoughts on the project and how things went. We set a deadline of ourselves for 4 weeks, and in that time frame I think that we did about as reasonably as well as we could have. We got pretty much all of our major goals. There are a couple of stretch goals that we didn't get around to implementing, but I think that they are quite minor in comparison to the major features that we got around to. And overall, the game it feels fun to play. It feels intuitive to me. The playtests went well with many of the players that tried it, and I think that we nailed the atmosphere with the game. So overall, this is a pretty great experience, I would say. Very educational in a lot of different ways. Working on all these AI systems primarily was the most interesting part of it. So I'll go ahead and stop this here, and soon enough the game will be live, and the current build that I had just demonstrated there will be available to play. So cool.